All right, welcome everybody. This is our June 2024 Kentuckiana FileMaker Developers Group meeting. Glad you're all here. If you're joining us on YouTube, make sure and check us out on the fourth Tuesday of every month. We'd love to have you live and in person. We have a great discussion every month, and all are welcome regardless of your skill level. So be sure and check us out. You can also check out our new website, kyfmp.com, where we have an archive of all our previous sessions for the past few years. With that, we'll move right along. And today, Brian Ginn is going to be presenting for us, and he's got some AI stuff, a new app for building calculations, I believe, in FileMaker using AI, and should be pretty interesting. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Brian.
Thank you, Ron. I'm Brian Ginn. I'm a developer with Universal Design, Inc. And I've got a little story for you. But before I begin, I see what's being recorded. Is there a way to show me while I'm doing this, or am I just...
Yeah, you're sharing. You have to turn your sharing on.
Yeah.
Oh, what's the point?
Well, so that we can...
Then we're going to go with it. All right, here we are. All right. I'm going to tell you a little story. I got a new Tesla about 6 weeks ago. My daughter calls me the other day and says, "Dad, we're moving. I need you. Ordered pizza. I want you to pick it up from Costco." And I said, "Great." So she said, "I've already ordered it." So I go to Costco and I pick up the pizza. And as I'm going in, I'm wondering, is the large Costco pizza going to fit in the front, which is the front trunk of a Tesla? And I said, "Wait a minute, I've got an app." And I don't know. Oh, you can't see it. Okay. I've got an app on my phone that when I summons it with the special Siri command, I can say start voice chat. It'll start OpenAI and it will do the interactive voice chat. And it's wonderful. And so as I'm walking in, I say, "Will Costco large pizza fit in the front of a Model Y Tesla?" And it responds in this very confident female voice, "Why, yes, it will fit indeed in the front trunk of a Tesla." And so I'm happy as a lark. I go in, I pay for the pizza, and I'm coming out. And I go in and oh, wait, it gets better. On my phone, I can tell it to open the front of the Tesla from the phone, and it will do it remotely. So I do that, and I'm all ready to put in the 3 pizzas in the front. Doesn't fit. And do you all remember that first time OpenAI did their little thing and they were talking about the space of the cargo space of a Honda or something, and would it fit? And it did all the measurements. You remember that? That was like 13, 14 months ago. Well, you may not, but they did that, which is why I was inspired to check to see if it would fit before I did it, because they supposedly have all the measurements and doing all the math. All right, so now I'm a recovering AI user. So, because I had to put it in the car, and the car smells like pizza now. So, all right, that's my little AI story. As you know, it hallucinates. But when I sat in the car, the story gets better. So when I sat in the car, I told it in the same chat, I said, "You need to update your database. A large Costco pizza does not fit in the front of a Model Y." Right before this was several days ago, right before we started this meeting, I checked again and asked it the same question. And it now answers correctly that it does not fit. Now, you know, they have memories now in OpenAI.
So Brian,
ChatGPT.
so is it not that so it didn't redo the calculations? It now says no because it got you to try it and tell it no. Now it knows.
Yeah. What do they call that? Reinforced human feedback or whatever they call it. So yeah. So but what I'm worried about is I don't know if that worked for everyone, or did it work for me under the memories feature? And that's a new feature inside of it that gets to know you. So who knows? I don't know. Your luck may vary. So that's my little
what that is, the AI getting the humans to do its work for it.
yes. success. But I had to really work to get those pizzas in there. Like, come on, give me a break. All right, so that's my little story to open up where we are with AI. And supposedly AI will never be worse than it is right now. You've heard this, right? I'm not kidding. They say every incarnation is going to be better. So right now is the worst it will ever be. That's a little terrifying, and it's a little necessary because of what I just told you. All right, so now we get into Alan and I have a new product, and some of you that are here have seen it before, but I'll introduce it to you now. It's called UDProAI. And here's the goal of this product. We're all working in FileMaker. We're all developers. We all need to do complicated work. We all know what the workflows are, but sometimes we get stuck in calculations. And some are really difficult. And you and I both know people that are really good at doing calculations and others that they can struggle through it. And sometimes they just need a little push. What I wanted for is to give me some basics to do it, and I can finish it if it'll get me started. But what I'd really like it to do is I give it a problem, a calculation, and it solve it for me. That's the goal, okay? So the challenges are I can either write it myself or I can have AI do it for me. The FileMaker calc that'll evaluate in the data viewer. And if it evaluates in the data viewer, then I can use it in a real solution. So that's the goal. So number one, you have to construct the wording for the calculation in human readable English. And that's good because that gets you oriented to the problem you're about to solve. Okay, so we do that, and we do that in our heads as developers, and then we go in and write the calculation manually. And I usually do it in data viewer because I save myself the trouble of working on the calculation, especially if it's complicated. Unless it doesn't evaluate, and then I have to copy and paste it into a text editor while I'm thinking about the solution, because it won't. Will it save it if it does? It won't. No, it'll ask you. It'll beep and bleep and won't let you save the calculation. Am I right about that? Yeah. It has to evaluate before it'll save it in the data viewer. Am I right about that, group? I don't know. I think so.
Yeah.
That's okay. So you see the trouble with that. You have to get it going, and that's the normal way to develop, and that's fine. But what I wanted to do was come up with English words to let AI create a calculation for me that would evaluate. So I did that here. I've got a place to put in my human readable prompt. I've got it where it will return via the OpenAI API to give me the FileMaker calculation that will evaluate in the field here, just like it were in the data viewer. So I've got all the components here to do it. So let's try one. And we're going to try, Ron gave me the example of a long time ago that was, what was it, the first Tuesday? Yeah. What is the first Tuesday? And I'm gonna break this down a little bit. Of January of the current year, okay? And so that's all I wanted to do is give me the formula for that. Oh, wait a minute, put that in the wrong place. I have to put it in my prompt. Okay, so we're gonna ask AI to solve for that. Now that's a pretty simple calculation, but let's see if it can do it. So we're gonna let it go, and it goes when it says this is the answer. Now, here's our next challenge. As developers, if we get a calculation to work, and we can go over here and look at this, and we can say, yep, that's the right result. Or is it? So we go in and we manually go check with a calendar. So we're looking for the first Tuesday of January of the current year. So let's go over to here. Go to January 1st. It's the 2nd. Now, that wasn't too hard to do, but I'd already brought up my calendar, already had it on January. That's pretty easy, right? So what would be better for me on a more sophisticated calculation is to let AI confirm the results, okay? So the next thing I'll do is I'll ask AI to turn my prompt into questions. And I'll ask it to do that. It'll make another call to OpenAI. It'll say, it'll just give me some questions that are related to my prompt, even though my prompt is a pretty simple one. Okay. And I can edit this, but I'm going to leave it alone, even though it's kind of verbose and overkill. And then the last thing I'm going to do with yet another call to OpenAI is to let AI take these questions and this answer and confirm that it's correct. Okay. So it says, use code interpreter to check the results. After you find out if they are correct, put the word correct as the last word, otherwise incorrect. Now, I added all of this just to, number one, ensure that it used code interpreter, which is, it will usually use Python to answer the question. You notice here, nothing is related to FileMaker over here. I wanted to do it independently. So I asked it. So we're making our third API call here. And it says, sure, I can help with that. Here's the correct. Now this, I can tell it didn't do it with Python because but it did give me the correct, it says it's correct. But we know how OpenAI can tell me a Costco large pizza can fit in my prompt. So I'm suspect. So I can ask it again. And with OpenAI or any of these, they will give you, they'll treat almost every question as a new question and give you a slightly different or a vastly different answer. So I'm going to ask it again. And here we go. Like I said, so this is similar. It didn't use Python because it'll give me the code if it did. And this is so simple, I can see why they're doing that. Even though I insist that it use code interpreter, I'll give it one more chance. Now we already know it's correct. Yeah, so we're not even, it's not even hard enough for them to use code interpreter. So let's make it a little harder. So we've done 3 rounds with OpenAI. We've confirmed that our results are good. Now let's get complicated, okay? And now that this is all this program does. This is the back and forth, but did you see how easy and smooth that was to do? I mean, that was smooth. I didn't have to leave this FileMaker program to do it. I'm living the AI dream again. I have hope. So let's get a little more complicated. Let's take our FileMaker code that works. Whoops. Don't want that. I want to be here. I want to select all. I want to copy it. And what I want to do in here is I want to say, take the code below. Make it for the entire year, pulling each first Tuesday for the current year. And I need to tell it first Tuesday for each month for the current year. Did I word that properly, you think? Probably. All right.
Yeah.
So we'll ask it, see what we get. So we're expecting 12 dates, and they should all be the first Tuesday of the current year. That's a pretty complicated ask. Okay. Oh, wait, I've got to paste in the code. Okay. So I got to get rid of this. It's not FileMaker. All right. And as I'm doing this, I'm going to explain something. Custom instructions are part of OpenAI. You can do it inside of OpenAI ChatGPT, or you can do it in the API and it will prepend it and send it over and honor your request generally. And what I've told it is, here in the lower left, FileMaker Pro, write a calculation. Please provide a code-only response. That's what I expect in the response, okay? So I've told it to take the code below. It knows to make it FileMaker. I'm going to ask it one time. And we're going to see what we get. We should get 12 dates. And if we don't, well, if we do, we're going to check it for, is it correct? If it doesn't evaluate, it'll go to a question mark. And so the code is here, but it's terrible code. So we'll ask it to do it again. We're going to wait till we get an evaluated result. Terrible. But this is Actually, I ran this a couple of days ago. If you break yours down, normally it gets it on the first try. I don't know why it's working so hard now.
Presentation anxiety.
Must be.
Yeah, the AI's is nervous.
It is. Now here we go. So we did get results. We got, okay, it evaluated. This is good. So we're going to go back to our prompt. We're going to say, turn this into questions. You know, what we asked for here, turn this into questions. Although I have to admit, I'm going to have to adjust it a little. No, I'm not. First Tuesday of each month. You know what I mean? This is great. I asked, and by the way, let me add to this. This is using the latest model from OpenAI, the most powerful one they have today. GPT-4o, as they call it. Now, when you ask for it to turn it into human readable prompts, this is GPT 3.5 Turbo. And the reason I've chosen that is just I'm balancing ability and cost, because every API costs based on the amount of tokens that you send it. Well, this is trivial for it to turn this prompt into questions. So I just have it use a lesser, cheaper API, and then it'll do it. So it turned it in. These look like reasonable. I'm not even gonna, that they're overkill, but that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, ask AI to confirm. Now this is going to use code interpreter, as I said. So when I hover over the ask, it's going to take my questions with the custom instructions and the results, send it to OpenAI, hopefully use code interpreter this time because it's pretty hard to figure out. And let's see what it does. So it's going to whirl away, send an API call to OpenAI. Let's see what happens. And you notice I'm overriding whatever was there last because I'm building this a little bit at a time. So this will go away. I'll get a new result from it. Boy, everybody's on OpenAI at lunch, after lunch, Tuesday. This was quick as fire every time I've used it. But we'll wait. There we go. All right.
Wow.
And it kind of, yeah. We will use code interpreter like Python, see what I mean? This is the full result. Okay. And it came back green, so it should have, because oh God, what's the thing called? Conditional formatting, to where it will code this. So I have hope that it works. But look at this. So it used Python to write this Python script to give us these dates. Here's the provided results, where they'll give their outcome somewhere. Where are here? There they are. Okay, this is their program in Python gave back this. They compared it to what I sent, and it says it's correct. That to me is lovely, guys.
That
okay,
is crazy amazing. Like this AI stuff just never ceases to blow my mind. And what you've done with it is really amazing. That's great.
Isn't this great? But do you notice the loop? This is just exactly what I want, but I'm going to carry it a step farther for you. Okay. So we can go all day with this and it will work similarly. And I like it. But as a result of doing all this, what I wanted to do, and I'm going to skip over to something right now. Okay. I had the situation come up with a real live client that, picture this, we're doing an invoice for them in FileMaker. And originally they wanted the invoice for the bill to and the ship to field to be free form. They didn't want them formal fields. And so what Ellen and I did, we took the company file and we gave them a beginning point for the bill to and the ship to. But, you know, it may need to go to Sally Sue and Mary Beth instead of whoever's on the real company file. You know what I'm talking about? So it built a summary of the bill to, it built a summary of the ship to, but then the salesperson, you know, they're getting in there editing things. They're saying, attention, it's got to go to Susie Q over in shipping, you know, on the receiving end. You follow me? So I have two fields that have lots of data in them, and it's for an invoice. Now that worked, but what we didn't know is in the end, instead of them wanting to use FileMaker to use for the actual invoice, if they wanted to use QuickBooks Online, a lot of people do that. And I understand that, and that's the way it went. And we're like, okay, fine. We'll send it over to QuickBooks. But guess what? QuickBooks doesn't know what to do with that summary field that the salesperson said, attention, Susie Q and shipping. You know what I mean? That's not a field that it can put it into, because they have, if you've ever looked at the QuickBooks invoice, QuickBooks Online invoice, it says bill to and it says ship to, but those are formal fields, line 1, line 2, you know what I mean, attention line. It has all those broken out. It won't use that summary. So in the beginning, what we did, we sent over the original bill to and ship to that were in the fields that it needed. And that's fine, but that's not what's on the invoice that they wanted. They had to go over and manually update it. You know what I mean? So I wanted a way to let the salespeople do all that gobbledygook that they do in their field, and yet send it over to QuickBooks and be parsed and be ready to go. And that's what we're going to do now. So let's go into the address parser. Let's hide this one for a moment. Why are there two open? Need this anymore? We leave that. All right. So here is the contacts example database in FileMaker. So if you bring up the little standard templates, you can get that. It's not populated, so this is another beauty thing that you can do with AI. You can go into AI and you say, I need 101 addresses. And I need some of them to not have a first name, some of them to not have a last name, some of them not to have a company name, some of them not to have a city. You see what I'm doing? I'm giving it irregular data, but I need that in a CSV so that I can import it into here to populate data that would simulate the gobbledygook that the salespeople do. You know what I mean? They say, send it to Jane. They don't put her last name in there. There could be 5 Janes at the company. So you know what I'm saying? I wanted real world data. So ignore this for now. But when we look at this, let's go here. Ship to, this is what I want. So where's the company in the phone? Oh, here it is. It's address. Forgive me, it's been a couple of weeks since I looked at this. So from AI, I got all this incorrect. Let's see where it's kind of got. The one before it. Here's Jane, but no last name. Here's Michael J. This is complete. This one has everything. I may not have asked it to leave off the city. I think that was just the people's name. Yeah, there's another Jane. It likes Jane and it likes the name William. There's a lot of those in here. All right. Oh, and Michael. So nonetheless, but here they are. So this is simulating. Let me go into one that's not populated, because I did a lot of testing. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, never mind. I've got it here. Look, like this is this company, and these are in the fields that they are, but I want to populate it to the shipping address. Now this simulates that single field. This should say attention. So I'm the salesperson. I'm going to say Emily S. Okay, because everybody at the company knows her. Okay, so I did this. So I've got a company, I've got an attention, I've got a street address, I've got a city state, but it's all in one field. This will not work in QuickBooks. I've got to have it parse it. Now, you and I know that we could write a calc that could parse this, but ask yourself, how long would that take? I bet it would take a little time for you. For me, it would. And I wouldn't get it right because they'll put in something else in here. They'll do take to the first floor. They'll add stupid stuff to it. So how do we get it to parse? So here's what's in the invoice sitting in FileMaker simulating in the invoice that we have. So what I do is all I ask AI to parse this, okay? So I'm going to take this and I need fields that are ready for QuickBooks. We're going to do it, then I'm going to explain it. So I'm going to go in here and it did it, parse following, or it's going to. Yeah, this is the prompt that I gave it, and this is what it's going to take. This is what I need, because I already know, looking at the API, what I need back for QuickBooks to be happy. Okay, so I'll tell it okay, and here's what I get. Now, oh, this is the original. Oh, I can't expand it. Yeah, I can. Oh, that's it. So there it is up there, but then I need it in JSON. Look at this. City, division. Yep. You see this? It took that and parsed it that quick. And now, and this is where it stops here. But in our solution, I took this, and before I sent the invoice to QuickBooks, I knew those two fields needed to be parsed. So I sent each of them at the same time, and it parsed them both for shipping address and building address. And I tell it, okay, that's the end of this, but it'll do it for all of these. Now this one's already, yeah, this one. Oh, same company. Do somebody else. Yeah. So let's see what it does for this one. It's sending over this with these instructions. Gets back this, but this is no good for me. I need the JSON out of it, which is choices text, by the way. So I get it to do that, and there I am. And it says, yeah, city, Denver, blah, blah, blah. Did make. Yeah, apartment, 5A, attention, James. Yeah, did it right. Okay. Oh, you know, JSON always sorts everything alphabetical. Is that alphabetical? Yeah. So it's hard to read, but it works. So it's been successful. I added one little nugget in here before I explain this code. In the real app that we wrote that sends it over to FileMaker, I put in a check that if this fails and does not evaluate to JSON, that it uses the original company bill to, and if it fails on the ship to, it uses the original ship to. And I've instructed them they're going to have to do it manually because some of them don't parse, but all the ones that I've done here do. So this is pretty good. So let's go look, see how I did it. All right. So, oh, and one thing before I do, and this is just to help you figure out, let's get rid of this. With the API, you can make an API call to get the number of models that are available on OpenAI. So we've got to script this and make a call and get all the listed models. Not every model can be used here. So you have to be careful because they have vision, they have others that are not appropriate. So we tell it okay, and it gives us 30 models. It gave us 35 before, and I'll tell you what. See, here's the one that you want to use right here. But these are all your options. And it will not bring back any that are depreciated. So this I like, it's valid models. So let's get that one first. This is an API call that will get you the models. So we have to use our API key. And this one's really simple. It just calls OpenAI V1 models. And then with your API key, but I think, yeah, insert from URL. Yeah, and it returns its data. And it just that one's pretty easy. But this is the one that parses everything. So once you've got your models and you set it up for the model that you want, I clear the vars. I only do that because if I list the vars in the beginning with no value, if you use Monkey Bread's plugin, from this point forward, if you go to do a calculation, it knows all the variables you're about to use and will let you use them in an autocomplete. That's the only reason I do the clear, because it's really not necessary for local variables. All right, so then there are more of these. There are a lot more. I just have a space. These are all the variables that I'm about to use. So then I'll set the variables. I have to have an API key. I have to have a model. And the 3.5 will do it. I was wrong. 4.0 will do it, but it'll cost you more, but it doesn't give you any value. So GPT 3.5 Turbo Instruct is all you need. Instruct, I'm sorry. We need to know what the difference is between the GPT and GPT Instruct. Instruct is an API. It's a model that is fine-tuned for user requested instructions on what to do with the data. That's important because GPT is a generative text. It'll just generate text and it's generalized. If you use Instruct, and there are only 2 of them, I think, that are available, they've been tuned to where when you give it instructions like parse, make a CVS, do something like that, it will handle it more formally. That's the only difference in those, but this is the one you want. All right, so then we give it the proper URL. All this is in their API documentation. Then we give it our headers, and we're going to set, let's see where we do it here. We need the key, we need the bearer, oh, and the JSON. And the JSON is just going to be the address. Where do I change that? Hang on. Okay. I thought I would do it before there, but I guess I don't. The only place I use that? Set variable ship 2. Let's go on and see if it gets clear. Been a few weeks since I looked at this. Set variable prompt instructor. Oh yeah, here's the prompt. And this is that prompt. And then I need to tell it what I expect back. Okay, because I've already read the API on QuickBooks. I know what it needs. I need this back. So I tell it parse and give me this, and then do an attention if it needs it. You know, I'm just being very exact. And then here's the function. So insert, yep, with ship, here we go. I need the ship2 data to be sent to them in the API so that it knows what to do with those custom instructions. Okay, now it will, once you do an insert, it's going to come back with a response. It's either going to be a valid response or an error response. And if it's valid, we're going to set, yeah, remember that choices text in the hierarchy of the JSON? That's what we're doing here. So we get back this and we say, from the response, the ship2 response, only give me this information because that's what I need to work with. I don't need all the other information that it sends back. Okay, so all I do is I then parse those from the response because I now set it to that's the ship2 response, but it's just that in JSON, which I can use the JSON get element to get each one of those. And now I've got something from here to here that I can use that when it is sent, using yet another API to send it over to QuickBooks Online, it knows exactly where to put the ship2. And it looks exactly, no, it doesn't. It looks a little bit cleaned up, but it's in the right places for the placeholders for each field inside of QuickBooks Online. Yeah. And that's it. So that's what I wanted you to see here is how to take a very formal to informal and then to parse it for yet something else. Because they could go in here and they could say, James on the first floor, and they'll do it. Let's see what it does for that. Will I put that as the attention? I'm curious. It should. Yep. See here? That's what I needed, that attention, James, on the first floor. All right. That was it. Any questions about that? All right. Now, all right, we're going to go back to, oh, got to get here. Where'd it go? All right, now we're going to get back to our product. All right. Oh, and by the way, that last thing fulfilled a dream of mine to use, instead of me writing the code, which I explained to you, I let AI do the work. It was far less involved and the results were excellent. So I had a good first use of AI to do what I would call a custom function. And it worked super well. So that got me thinking, well, secondarily, this was a month or two ago that I did that. So Ron sent out this notice for this event. Somebody, a very prominent person that we all know in the community of FileMaker, wrote back and said, you know, and I'm paraphrasing, it would be nice if you would use some of the Advent of Code challenge examples to test this product against, because that person announced that they had done 17 of the 25. The Advent of Code, in case you don't know, is every December for X number of years now. Somebody sponsors the Advent of Code, and it is a programmer's challenge for some pretty hard problems to solve. This person announced they had solved 17 of 25, and the only reason they quit is that it just was tiring and took a lot of work. And I believe it, because after I'd never tried it, but I thought, okay, fine, that's a great example to use. So I'm going to use that right now. And here it comes. All right. So let's do this. Let's do a new. And what I'm going to do, so we need a question that is from the Advent of Code. So we're going to use Claude. And Claude is Anthropic's answer to OpenAPI. And if you don't know, Claude was founded by an offshoot of the engineers at OpenAI when they had some big dust up over AI. So they started their own company. And so they are considered probably the second most important behind OpenAI as far as quality of AI for end users. And they're quite brilliant. I've been using them forever. Well, they just came out about 5 days ago with 3.5 Sonnet. And so we're going to use that now. All right. And so what I want is I want to ask, and I say, give me an example of an Advent of Code challenge. All right. Well, let's see what it does here. Now, and I'm going to tell you, it will not give you an exact, because it's copywritten, the code, but it will take those as input to make a new challenge. So it's not exactly what was in the Advent of Code, but it's one like that. So they're quite good. So here's what it did. Okay, certainly here's an Advent of Code example, and it goes through and it says, here's, click to open the document. This is an artifact, by the way. This is brand new. This is stunningly important to AI because it'll let you use prompts, user prompts, questions, and it will make them into code if needed, and or images. And it may do sound, don't quote me on that, but it'll do some fantastic stuff in the artifacts. So here we go. Also throughout December. Yeah, here's the typical code challenge. All right, here's the code challenge. Scenario, simple calculation, find the minimum sum. Second part builds on the first, and that's usually the way they are, I've noticed. You'll have an initial answer, then there's something else you have to do with the answer. So it's quite complicated. So parsing data, manipulating arrays. Yep, this is right. Implementing algorithms. All right, so on and so on. All right, now. Yeah, let's do it. Let's see. Oh, I need to turn this on, sorry. All right, so let's see. Oh, here it is over here. Okay, so here's the, yes, the cal, I've seen this. I've seen a few of them lately. All right, calorie counting. This is just, I won't go into it, but it's a big, you're asked to count calories in the various meals, snacks, rations. Okay. And here's the calories from that they're ingesting. All right. Oh, and here's the deal. The first ELF is carrying food with 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 calories for a total of 6,000. And it goes on and on and on and tells you about the data. Okay. Every elf gets hungry. They need to know which elf to ask to get food from. Part 2. And then you have another challenge. Okay, this is really quite complicated. It would take me a minute or 25 million to solve this. So what we'll do is we're going to do a couple of things here. All right, so we're going to copy the challenge as it is. And then it says, and then 3.5 Sonnet says, do you want me to provide a solution? And I'll say, yes, please provide a solution. So it gave us the challenge. You can then ask it to solve it. So all within one here, it'll solve it. Okay. And so it solved it. All right. Almost always using Python. So we run as Python actually part 1. So out of all those questions and answers, which it asked to, the first one is 24,000. Part 2 is 45,000. All right. So, and here's the code that it did to get there. Okay. So what I'm going to do, you remember that I copied the challenge and I'm going to flip over to here. Now I'm in a new record. I'm not going to put it up in FileMaker because I'll be frank with you, none of the AIs are competent enough to write FileMaker code that evaluates. They just can't do it, even the best. But what I can do is this. I can put this prompt in here, okay? And I can say, ask to confirm this, okay? And let's see what it does. It's going to use Code Interpreter. Now this one is going to be using OpenAI, not 3.5 Sonnet, okay? So let's break this down, and it tells us what it's going to do given the input, because the input is here. Using Python, just like 3.5 Sonnet. Provide input calories, yep. Max calorie. Now at some point, here's the results. Remember this? Remember this? And it did it correctly. So in the end, we had 2 different AIs do the same problem. They both took human readable code and they turned it in, I'm sorry, human readable text, and turned it into a calculation. How long would it have taken you to answer this code challenge? So now every December when it comes around, you can't trust anybody saying they're number 1, okay? Because they all went here and solved it. Okay, they got the code, they got everything. I think that challenge is over. But here's where it's going to be useful to you and I. And here's where this product, our product, is going to be useful. Just like I used OpenAI to parse a free-form ship to invoice address successfully, I'm going to use this part of AI to give me a result that I can use inside of FileMaker, and I'm going to show you the secret. Okay, so here's what I want. I can keep that correct or incorrect, but what I want is I want to add to the question. I'm going to leave the question alone, but what I need is please respond with the answer, the result in JSON. That's the only difference I'm going to make here. I need JSON. And let's see, it didn't already do JSON, did it? No, I don't see any JSON. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now I've got 2 things I need to do, but this is the first step to help you. So we're going to ask it to do the same thing. Now, mind you, we're asking AI to do something. It will come back with possibly a new program. Now, it didn't turn green, so I'm not sure. Oh, but it did. and it had the right answer. Look at this. So it put it as JSON. You and I, as developers, can use JSON. And so what I need to do is one more thing. The JSON, whoops, title should be response. Meaning I want it to be, I want it to have something that I can pull out from whatever this response is to use it in FileMaker. And I need a keyword that is unique in the JSON that will have that. So now I'm going to ask it again. Now, so far it's 2 for 2. This is using code interpreter to give us an answer. This is powerful. So it's going to do it again. We need to check our results. Let's see if it did it right first. Yep, got the correct. Now it added this, I don't care. But look, it put this. So if I have this JSON right here, because this is the only thing out of all this that we could use easily, because we can use JSON get element and get any one of these values that we needed to put back in our FileMaker solution. But I have to either isolate it or use it. I have to parse it yet one more time. But this parsing I have to do with the FileMaker.
It's interesting. You spelled response wrong in your ask, but the JSON corrected it in the response.
I was just about to point that out
Fixed the
too.
spelling error.
Excuse me, Kurt. I typoed it. Thank you.
But AI corrected it.
AI corrected it. That's the cool part.
Good catch, and it does that a lot. So that's great. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to show you what we did here, because I've already done that over here. Okay, let's go back one. You notice the prompt that I asked originally for this that worked. All right, look at the FileMaker result. Look how I asked it to give me a code-only response. Now, in console world, I believe, the 3 backticks is ignored by code interpreters, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But it will start that way and it will stop that way, because this is the way AI, see here at the bottom, it ends with 3 backticks. That lets it know where the enveloped code is to run, okay? But FileMaker can't use that, so I've got to go in here, and that's okay. I can do that. So if I need this to evaluate in FileMaker, I do this, and I go to Data Viewer, I go to plus, I put it in here, see, that worked. I had to get rid of the, if I left those backticks in here, FileMaker would hoop and holler. It would not evaluate. Okay. But I can't get AI to not give me those backticks. Okay. So you see here, we have a problem. We can't just look for backticks to get rid of. It will put the word FileMaker after the beginning, sometimes text, sometimes other words, I've forgotten them, but it'll always end with 3 backticks. So the response I get from AI when I make a call is very convoluted. But because I have that there, I can write FileMaker code to extract, just like it. I gotta find it. I gotta figure out where I did it. Forgive me, this will take a moment. AI result. I think that's in the script. Nonetheless, I don't think I'm gonna do it, because frankly, I can't remember. But everyone, let me know if you need, I can go hunt for it. What I'm saying is out of all this code, the only thing I need to do here, let me copy, where is it? Oh, it's not here, it's in the next one. All right, see this? I need this. Whoops. Select proper. All right, I need this. So what I'll do, I need a marker that is unique. And the marker that I have, because I ask it to do response, is I'll tell it to search for, oh, wait a minute. This actually, give me 1 second. No, it won't. Hang on. I'm going to need to show you the code. I'll have to find it. Give me a moment to find it. And the reason is because I can see, no, there, that won't work. There are other backticks. Okay. I'm sorry, I thought I could do that. But what I'd have to do is I would have to look for response from here to here. It's going to be the same in every single response because I told it to up here. Okay. So
I want to talk about the backticks. Hang on. Backticks,
Okay.
when you're talking about markup, it's you 3 backticks. And if it says JSON, that means the following code will be JSON. And it ends in the 3 ticks. So it's just markup.
Okay. It's markup. Okay. Okay. Got it. Thank you. And so what I'm saying is we could, I'm not going to do it here now, but I've got enough to work with where I could extract this. So here's the summary of what I'm, all that to say this. I can use Python to ask a question, get a response in Python, get a result, tell it, force it to bring it back in JSON with a response. And then I, as a FileMaker developer, can competently extract this JSON, use it everywhere and anywhere I want to in my FileMaker solution. That's the big thing here. Okay. I love it. And I think that ends my talk. Thank you very much.
So in a way, what you're basically saying is that with this, you can get FileMaker to use Python.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's pretty stunning. Right?
It is. All of it is very.
It is. Yes.
So the thing next that we need to know is this a product? Is there a price? What is, walk us through that. Alan's going to take care of that? Okay.
Yeah, Alan's going to take care of that.
Yeah, it
The
is.
thing is, this is always developing. And so it's not a solution we can launch and have it a one-time thing because every version it changes. And so Brian's always going to be working behind the scenes. That's what we decided to do is sort of launch it as a subscription basis. And we came up with a real expensive solution at $25 a year. So it's not a money maker. It's more or less just to pay for some coffee breaks. But what it is then you go to Open API and get your own credentials. So it's using your code, your credentials and your keys so you can use as much as you want. And that's how we're going to launch it. It's we thought we would have it ready for today, but it's not quite ready because we're still working on some of the encryption to make sure that no one can seize anybody else's keys. That's the big thing. It is incorporated into Stripe, and we've been real successful in that. And we now have a PCI compliant solution that uses that, which is sort of neat. And so if that's where we're at. I think we're so close that probably within 30 days we'll probably have it launched so that you can actually start using it. That's where we're at.
So this would be kind of a shared solution where it would be hosted and the $25 a year would give you access to it, but you don't get the file or anything. Is that correct?
Right, because I was going to be changing because Brian's going to have to keep making the code changes behind the scenes. So that's, but that way you can use it as much as you want. And since he's using your keys, that's why it'll work that way. But it'll always be the latest and the freshest solution to it as it changes. Because how many times has it changed so far this year?
5.
Yeah, 5 or 6 times it's already changed this year. I mean, it's such an evolving platform. If it ever becomes stable, be a different solution. But right now, it's changing so fast and so many changes in it. It's the only way you can do it is as a subscription type of basis.
Thanks.
So if you go to UDProAI.com, you can sign up, and once we get it all set up, we'll let you know all about it. So that's where we're at.
Can we get a link in the chat for that?
You want me to put a link in the chat for that? I can do that.
Yeah.
And does anyone else have any other questions?
I was just wondering, Brian, great presentation. I'm intimidated and impressed. Are you going to provide some kind of demo for us to kind of look at some of this code or not?
Say that again, John?
Are you going to have any demo file for us to look at some of this code you've done or not?
Well, we haven't talked about that,
No,
so I
just
don't
thought I'd
know.
ask. You've done a lot of
Good.
work. That's great, but certainly I'm wondering, do I have
Thank
to learn all that from scratch, right? Who's that?
Let me consider what you said, John. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, just asking. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to just have even just bits and pieces of, demos that we can explore a little bit. Obviously, you're not going to give away the whole file because that's,
course not.
the project you're working on and everything. But I mean, it is amazing. And I'm looking forward to getting access to it and throwing some calculations in there and seeing what it comes up with. I think it's going to be, it kind of drives me nuts, because on one level I'm like, oh, this is great. It could save us so much time. But then on the other level, there's so much fear that AI is just going to, push us out of a job with this kind of stuff.
Well, I hear you, Ron, and to speak on that, I'm going to tell you a real world experience. While I was developing that little layout parser, was it that? It may have been something else. But the little large pizza from Costco fitting in my front. Well, I had one of those moments while I was asking AI seriously about that. What I learned is that I suggest highly to you, use two sources, because one of them was stuck on wrong syntax. And it kept me busy for an hour and a half, wasting my time. And I immediately said, oh, I got to go somewhere else. And of course, I went to the original API as well, but that they weren't quite clear on that. So I went to another AI, Claude, and it told me very clearly what to do. And it was completely converse to what the other one said for an hour and a half. And I had my problem solved in 5 minutes.
It's 1 o'clock.
So just be cautious. My point to you is if you're spinning your wheels in AI, stop, go to another AI and ask it the same question. And of course, read the original documentation. To answer your other question about are we in danger as programmers? I don't think so, because the way I look at it is I am a developer because I need to get a user interface. I need to get a workflow. I need to answer all the client's questions. And currently AI is not AGI. And I think we're going to enter, this is a commentary, but I think we're going to enter an AI winter again, as we did after the 70s. I don't think there's going to be much progress, even though they keep touting AGI in the next 9 months to 2 years to 5 years. Unless they make some huge breakthrough, I don't see it coming.
And what is AGI?
Artificial general intelligence. They define that as when in AI can do what an average human can do.
Interesting. So, is there any way you could kind of walk us through where we would go to get credentials for the AI and like?
Take them to the,
Yeah. Let's see. Can I do that easily?
no, go to UDProAI as you sign up. There's a link right on there when you sign up.
Pro, did I do it right?
No, UDProAI.
I'm just a developer.
.com.
Com. Oh, okay.
No. Get rid of the UD. There you go.
This?
Yeah.
Nice. With Alan's assistance.
Okay, go into sign up. Okay, right there at the bottom, is if you don't have your AI credentials, you click that link and it'll let you do it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, there they
So
are.
it's all part of the sign up process.
Nice.
And then you put that in there, and then from that point on, every time you sign in, it'll use that credential and only your credentials for it.
Nice. Very efficient, Alan. Thank you.
That's my part. Handling the AI is his part. Beverly has put the link on there regarding the AI pricing.
Yeah, that's just OpenAI.
Yeah, and it requires a sign up to log in. Yeah, I guess I'm more interested in the AI pricing and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, Beverly's right. They do have individual pricing. It is cheap as all get out. You pay $20 plus tax a month because you have to have a pro account to get an API key. And then the API usage is pretty minimal. I don't think I paid more than $12 extra for API usage any month that I've had.
Hmm.
So for me, $12 is totally worth it to get this kind of innovation and acceleration in my work.
You use some other providers, not just OpenAI.
Correct. I use Anthropic.
Yeah.
Theirs is also $20 a month. Although with the newest, you don't need to pay anything. They'll give you 3.5 Sonnet for free. And I believe the artifacts, that little panel to the right, is in the free version as well. I think the only difference in the pro and or the paid and the unpaid is API keys, which you don't need if you just want to use it generically. So they actually give you the latest, greatest model for free at Anthropic. Those are the top two, in my opinion, Beverly.
Yeah.
There are other Hugging Face. They're kind of fun for general stuff. I've never used them seriously, but I've used the other two very seriously.
The huge question a lot of people have is that's out in the world and I don't want it in the world. And LLM Studio allows you to set up your own. I think
And
Claris also has an article on how to do that as well.
oh yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Beverly. You know, all the things that you've seen here, you know, they released FileMaker 21. Everything you saw here today was using pre-21 technology. That still works, of course. But in the new script steps, you can suppress that little dialogue that comes up while it's polling the API. That's one thing. They have other benefits. But that's because otherwise, right now, you cannot suppress unless somebody can tell me how. You know, the little dialogue that comes up while it's doing the insert from URL. To my knowledge, you can't suppress that. Unless you, how can you do that? I have no idea. And I want it though, in this solution, I want you to know what's going out polling, because this is a very active process. Just remember, a large Costco pizza will not fit in the front of them.
Good to know.
Good to know. So fun. Well, this has been fun. Thank you all very much. Glad to share with you.
You always come up with good stuff, Brian.
Yeah, it's definitely been a good.
And the problem with Brian is that he comes up with such cool stuff that my brain starts cranking away, branching off from what he said, thinking of 10 million other things I want to try now.
Mhm.
It's your fault I can't get any work done. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. All right, I will stop sharing.
All right. Well, do we have any other questions regarding the presentation? If not, I think I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording. And just a reminder to everybody that we do now have an archive on our website of all the sessions, so this will be up probably by tomorrow on the website. So I also think I'm gonna put in place a follow-up email to everybody that attends to let them know when it's added to the archive. Does that sound like something everybody be interested in?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll end our session for June 2024. Thanks, Brian. Really enjoyed it. Looking forward to getting access to it and trying it out when it's ready. So
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I think there's a solution to get rid of that markdown code around